Hey guys, recording this on September 13th, 2024, and this is going to be one of those reaction videos. I'm sure you've seen variations on this. So I'm looking at a video by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and it's called Stop the War Machine or something like that. And I haven't seen it yet. I'm just going to play it and make comments because there are lots of things to comment on. Okay, here we go.
I want to share with you the biggest reason that I stepped out of the presidential race to endorse Donald Trump. It's an
I'm not going to say anything about that. It's just a factual statement.
issue so big that many people don't even want to look at it. And I'm talking about the slide toward nuclear war.
Okay, agreed. It is a huge problem. He's probably going to refer to his uncle. Um, is he going to refer to the fact that his uncle tried to get Israel from getting the nuclear bomb? Probably not.
You might remember back in the day when Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld and Paul Wolfowitz and all those other guys were pushing for war in Iraq.
Now, is he going to reveal that the guys that he's referring to were all ardent, either ardent Zionists or ardent supporters of Zionist extremism? That's just a fact. It's not theory, not my opinion. It's a fact. To say they were pro-Israel is an understatement. And why do we end up in Iraq? Do we even know? Well, it took some pieces off the chessboard for Israel, for the greater Israel project, but Robert Kennedy Jr. is not going to tell you that.
Or in Syria, or in Libya, or in Iran, and full spectrum U.S. military domination across the globe. These people were known as the Neocons.
Right, Bobby. And who do the neocons intersect with perfectly? The guys that you won't say a word against.
And they have now taken over the Democratic Party.
Right? They have.
Now, they're the ones who are pushing for maximum confrontation with Russia. You have any idea how dangerous that is?
True. Definitely dangerous. Because, Russia's a sovereign country. They do not want to be invaded or taken over. It's happened to them once. They lost, what was it, 30 million people? That's a conservative estimate. So, if they have to fight to the death, they will, because they know their history.
Russia is the world's largest nuclear power. Right now, our country is providing weapons trainings and targeting information for Ukraine to strike deep into Russian territory with both infantry and with missiles. How would our country react if, say, Russia had bases on the Mexican border and was aiding Mexican armed forces to strike oil refineries and towns and nuclear power plants in Texas? If Russia gets desperate, they will use nuclear weapons, and Vladimir Putin has made this clear. That's the game that President Biden and the foreign policy establishment have been playing. They're gambling the future of our planet, and for what? For nothing. The endless wars of the neocons are bankrupting our nation.
Okay. I agree with him. I just wish he'd mentioned the other endless war, which is the Zionist extremist war against the owners of Palestine. And that would be the Palestinians who, contrary to the bullshit that there was nothing but a desert there, lived there, and it was their property, and they had orchards and farms and businesses and livestock and the whole bit. Why, Bobby? Why?
They're making us less safe at home and less safe abroad. It used to be that the Republicans were even more belligerent than the Democrats. Some of them still are, but not Donald Trump. I've had extensive conversations with him and his team. He understands the danger. He sees through the neocons now.
Yeah, but does he see that the neocons are also Zionist extremist supporters, and that we are now in the process of murdering? Have you noticed that the death count stopped at 40,000 about 6 months ago? How plausible do you think that is? Ralph Nader came out and was talking about the Lancet, which is a big medical journal in England, and they're estimating that we've already lost 300,000 human beings in Gaza, which actually makes a lot more sense. Think how long you'd last without a home, without food, being bombarded day and night, no sleep, no medical care, no sanitation, no sewage, no water, no, we already mentioned no nourishing food, trying to take care of children. How long do you think you'd last? Well, they are dying in large numbers, and that is a neocon project, Bobby. So all this bullshit about how you're fighting the neocons, it's a little hard to fathom.
He's going to de-escalate with Russia, and he's going to cancel the neocons' plans for wars with China and Iran, too. I take him at his word, and I'm also going to keep him to his word. I need your support to help me do that. I need you to vote Donald Trump into the White House. Let's get him elected, and let's put an end to the war machine. Thank you.
All right. You know, John F. Kennedy said, ask not what you can do for what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. That's what he contributed to political rhetoric in the United States. And Joe Biden contributed, come on, man. You know, I use it a lot. So, I mean, I guess half a loaf is better than none. And we surely have to stop provoking Russia. This is insane. Um, but also, right up there in the insanity category is talking about neocons and not talking about the way we've been maneuvered into destroying ourselves and the people of Iraq, destroying Libya, which for all its problems once had the highest standard of living in all of Africa. We've destroyed Syria, 400,000 people killed. I mean, no one bats an eyelash here, apparently. And it looks like hundreds of thousands of people dead in Palestine, and no end in sight. And for some bizarre, I understand Trump not understanding that the neocons are Zionist extremist supporters and have worked literally in conjunction with Israel in a traitorous manner. I understand that. I don't expect much from Trump, but you know, Bobby, you had a father and an uncle that would never have gone for this. Never, never. And you got just extraordinary blindness. Now, maybe I don't know. I don't know what the logic is, but yeah, I would rather have the impending war with Russia stopped now, because you know China will climb on too, and we have a little problem. China makes all our chips now, and a whole bunch of our basic material supplies, thanks to the carelessness of Joe Biden and Donald Trump and Barack Obama and George Bush Jr. And Bill Clinton, and even Reagan and all those guys. It's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And now we're at the point where if they cut us off, it's our problem. It's not their problem. They might miss a few meals, but they're going to be able to make all the weapons and everything they need. We're not. We're not. We're not going to be able to. We're not going to be able to source spare parts. It's going to be pathetic. But that does not matter to the Zionist neocons, just as the slaughter of absolutely innocent people doesn't matter to them either. So half a loaf is better than none, but it's half a loaf, and it's preposterous that anybody talks about neocons without talking about Zionist extremism. All right, that's what I have to say about that.
What do these scientists see? They see a tiny enclave, the geographical size of Philadelphia, with 2.3 million people, crowded, already sick and destitute from years of Israeli illegal embargoes, high levels of anemia among the children before October 7th. And then starting October 8th, the Israeli military issued the genocidal orders of no food, no water, no medicine, no electricity, no fuel. And they proceeded accordingly. And so what these scientists are seeing are what's called the empirical evidence that people on social media are seeing and others. With over 130,000 bombs and missiles, plus daily tank shelling, ruthless sniper fire, there's been massive destruction of apartment buildings, congested marketplaces, refugee camps, hospitals, over 150 health clinics, masses of families huddled in schools being blown up, ambulance being blown up, bakeries destroyed, schools, universities, mosques, churches, roads, electricity networks, critical water mains, just about everyone and everything. And some people, partisans of Netanyahu, will say, oh, the Israeli government never targets civilians. Historically, they've always targeted civilians. Go back to the early 80s when former Israeli ambassador and foreign minister Abba Eban wrote of Israel under then Prime Minister Menachem Begin that Israel, and I'm quoting him, quote, is wantonly inflicting every possible measure of death and anguish on civilian populations in a mood reminiscent of regimes which neither Mr. Begin nor I would dare to mention by name, end quote. And just a few years earlier, in the late 70s, Israel's leading military analyst, summing up remarks by the Israeli chief of staff, stated the following. Quote, the Israeli army has always struck civilian populations, purposefully and consciously. The army has never distinguished civilian from military targets, but purposely attacked civilian targets, end quote. And why is this important? Because to this day, all of the administration's spokespeople are denying that Israel has targeted civilians, denying that Israel has violated international genocide laws, denying that they have violated 6 federal statutes conditioning shipment of weapons to foreign countries on recognizing human rights excessively. To this administration and to the Congress, all deaths of civilians are accidental. Blowing up schools, sheltering refugees, well, that was a mistake. So that's why it's important, Amy and Juan, to get that estimate as reliably high as possible. We are seeing possibly 1 million deaths before the end of the year. We have starvation, we have infectious diseases. All the doctors that you've had on Democracy Now! Have provided the clinical evidence of what's going on. 5,000 babies born every month into the rubble, contaminated water, horrific air pollution with heavy metals from the bombing, and no food. We're led to believe by these 41,000 figures that 98% or more of the Palestinian population is still alive. I mean, what are they made of? Asbestos and steel? And as the doctors have said on your program, when they went back to the rubble and the broken hospitals, they didn't meet anybody in Gaza who wasn't sick or injured. There's an interview in February in Al Jazeera by a Gaza undertaker who's doing this free of charge and crying every day with his assistants on the open graves. He says he's buried 17,000 bodies, including 800 in one day, and that was back in February.